Back to this channel. So y'all about to hear from the Briley brothers. So thank you. Enjoy. Watch this movie, please. Briley's for nightmares, some old death scares from the city of Richmond. So their methods for murder 10 to 11 people were knife, fork, cinder block, any kitchen knives. They use deep down to the floor. They pinned it down to the floor. So these are dangerous men. I know y'all want to hear a story of them. Y'all must hear a story of them. So please and watch. Briley Theo was born on March 26, 1954. He was responsible the first murder, which is occurred in 1971. Orlin Christian. She was hanging clothes in the backyard, and all of a sudden, 16-year-old Linwood Briley shot her in her back. So in no time, the cops arrested him. He was sentenced to juvenile facility for at least 1 year, and then released after his 17th birthday. So, middle child James Briley, he was born 2 years after his brother Linwood. He was born on June 6, 1956. The second born of is Linwood James Briley. So he followed his brother's path by murder a police officer from the robbery. So he spent a year in a juvenile facility as well. So he followed his brother's path. Anthony Briley was born on February 17, 1958, the baby. He's the baby of the two older brothers, James and Linwood Briley. So Anthony Briley is the baby. So he committed a crime when he was 15 years old, armed robbery. So he served 6 months in jail. And then he's a follower, He's a very follower of his two older brothers. So he's a follower. So see you later. 1979, the three Briley brothers and accomplice Duncan Meekins began a 7-month series of random killings that terrified the city of Richmond and surrounding region. The first attack occurred March 12, 1978. Linwood attacked a Hendrick County couple of William and Virginia Butcher, claiming that needed their car fixed. So Linwood forced his way in the house, starting putting a gunpoint on him. They duct taped them. And they also put gasoline around the house. So while they was in the house, they took the television, CBA radio, and .32 caliber pistol and jewelry into the truck and drove off the area. And then they were the survivors of the Briley brothers. So on March 21st, Michael McDuffie, a vending machine server, was assaulted, shot, robbed in his stubborn home by the Brileys. On April 9th, a 76-year-old woman, Mary Gowen, across her babysitting job, she was murdered into her house, beat, raped, robbed, and shot her. They escaped from the residence of many of her valuables. The gang, 17-year-old Christopher Phillips, was hanging around Linwood's parking car on July 4th. So Linwood beat him with the cinder block, and his head crashed so badly. So on September 14th, the disc jockey John Harvey G. Gallagher was performing with his band at the South Richmond nightclub. Stepping outside, just getting some fresh air, automatically hands up to the Briley brothers. So they sat right by where the jockey was performing at. So Duncan Meekins and the Briley brothers were waiting for a victim. So they quickly assaulted Gallagher, and then they put him into the trunk of his own car. Then Mr. Gallagher shit on himself, knowing that he's scared of them. So they drove down to the James River, where they shot him and then make him dress naked, point blank, and they shot him in a point blank range in the head. Took $6, which is cold blooded, $6 from him in his wallet. So, and then his body was found into the river, and the remains 2 days later, and then months later arrested after on September 30th, a 60-year-old private nurse Mary Wolfond was found home in her Richmond. And then the brothers surrounded her just outside the door. Linwood beat her to death with a baseball bat. The brothers then entered her apartment and robbed it of valuables. 5 days later, October 5th, just 2 blocks from the Briley home on 4th Avenue, 75-year-old Blanche Page and a 59-year-old brother Charles Garner were murdered by brothers. Page was beaten to death in her bed. Charles Garner was stabbed to death with all knives, kitchen knives, all that stuff. So, with weapons, in which include a baseball bat and 5 knives and a pair of scissors and a fork. The scissors and fork were left in Garner's back. The victims were the final family is a Harvey Wilkerson and a longtime friend of the brothers. So on Monday, October 19th, despite having a promise a judge that a day that he was staying out of trouble or parole, James Briley led his brothers on a parole that night for yet another victim. Seeing upon the Briley brothers on the street, Wilkerson, who lived with his 23-year-old wife Judith Diane Barton, who was 5 months pregnant at the time, and her 5-year-old son Harvey Wayne Barton, and closed and locked his door. The action was noticed by the brothers, who then walked over to Wilkerson's front door and terrified their response if he refused to enter. Wilkerson allowed them in. Both adults in home were overpowered and then bond gained with duct tape. Linwood assaulted Judith Barton in the kitchen. She was raped within hearing distance of others. Megan's continued the assault, after which Linwood dragged Barton back into the living room. Briefly, in the premise of violence, and then left Wilkerson house. Then 3 remaining gang members covered their victims with sheets. James then told Meekins, "You gotta get one." Upon which Meekins shot a fatal shot in the Wilkinson's head. James then shot Barton to death, and Harvey followed shortly. So the police, to be in the general of the neighborhood, later saw the gang running from the high speed. They did not know where the shots had been fired from. The bodies were not discovered until 3 days later, but the brothers were all arrested soon afterwards. After that, the killing spree was over, and sooner they got arrested. So they got arrested and they got charged with murder. So 2 death sentences, 2 life sentences. Okay, so during the trial by the police, Meekins was for a plea arrangement to return for turning state's evidence against the Brileys. He took the offer and provided a full detail of the crime spree. As a result, he escaped the death penalty, received a life sentence, and was incarcerated in Virginia prison away from the Briley brothers. Under the agreement, Meekins given a life sentence plus 80 years, which is time of conviction, make him eligible for parole after serving 12 to 15 years. Anthony Briley, the youngest brother, a single life sentence for him. Parole allegedly was handed down to Anthony Briley, the youngest brother of the trio, during his limited involvement of the killings. Because of the Virginia's triggerman statutes, both Linwood and James Briley received numerous life sentences for the murder convicted, but capital punishment charges the cases where they had physically committed the actual killing of the victim. Linwood Briley was sentenced to death for adultery murder of Jolly Gallagher, while James Briley received 2 death sentences for one each of the Barton family. Both were sent to Mecklenburg Correctional Center near Bolton in the early 1980s. The ringleaders in a six inmate escape from Mecklenburg Correctional Center on May  31st, 1984. During the early moments of the escape, which is in a effort result in the inmates taking over the death row unit. Both Briley expressed strong interest of killing the capture guards by dosing them with robbing them alcohol, tossing a little match. Willie Turner, another death row inmate, convict murder of which is executed by lethal injection on May 25, 1995. Stepped to James way and blocked him from doing so. Meanwhile, Wilbert Lee Evans on death row for being convicted of murder of Alexander City Sheriff Derek. Deputy William Truesdale prevented Linwood from raping a female nurse. Evans was executed on October 17, 1990, despite the pleas for clements, a commission from the Mecklenburg Correctional Center who said they owed their lives to Evans. Alexandria Commonwealth's attorney John Clark exposed the clemency and Democratic Governor L. Douglas Wilder, the state's first African American governor, denied clemency. The group instilled plan to escape into Canada. Two inmates, Lim Tuggle Jr., convicted of raping and murdered one woman shortly after being released for another such crime, executed by lethal injection on December 12, 1996. Willie Turner, a convict of two capital murders, executed on September 11, 1992. Almost succeeded making it as far as Vermont before being captured at a gunpoint by police. There were group held at Marble Valley Correctional Facility in Rutland, pending their entry back to Virginia, splitting from their two remaining co-escapees at Philadelphia. The Briley brothers went near their uncle Johnny Lee County in the north of the city. They were captured on June 19th, 1984 by a heavily armed group of FBI agents who had determined their location by placing a wiretap on their uncle's phone line. After the capture, Linwood Briley was put to death by electric chair on October 12, 1984. So he was survived by one son. His name is Norman Empty. So Norman Empty, which is served time at prison, just like his father's shadow. So Linwood Briley was baptized and had an interview with Deborah Wyatt. So talk about he is into that and stuff. So and then the state denied him the stay of execution. So 2,400 volts electricity passing through his body for 55 seconds. The first 55 seconds, he had his fist clenched like a fist. He had his fist clenched up. So within the final 55 seconds, he stopped his heart, and then he was pronounced dead, claiming that he ended it at 11:05. His last meal was soft drink, potatoes, and I guess chicken. I really forgot, but it's chicken. So he was executed on October 12, 1984 by electrocution, which is called Virginia's electric chair. The state was so happy. He had witnesses. They got so happy that he's going to be executed in the electric chair. So he was carried by electric chair. James Briley execution comes to the following in the same year, 6 months after Lynn was put to death. James Briley was executed in the same lecture where his brother was in. So, in shortly order amount of time, the appeals ran off both brothers. 7 weeks before his execution, James was married to Evelyn Grant Redding on Thursday, March 28, 1985, in a prison ceremony attended by his father, James Briley Sr. The brothers were executing the electric chair at the state penitentiary of Richmond. James Briley got married, which is a month before his execution he's scheduled to die, which is April 18, 1985. So, during that time, he had a prison interview, that could not help him escape the electric chair. So that's what he did. So he escaped the chair, claiming that he's innocent just like his brother. He was claiming that he innocent just like his brother, which ain't gonna work, because you kill a murder, you a mass murder, you will get executed in the electric chair. So he helped escape the Mecklenburg Correctional Center, so he escaped. So he was sentenced to death by 2 murders. So I believe when it hit April 18, 1985, there were prison breaks trying to ruin the Briley's execution. So he was executing electric chair April 18, 1985.